All right, everyone, I apologize for the delay. I had a slightly eventful morning. I'll say no more about that. But we got to talk about this migrant army down in the Honduras region that's begun pooling up. Some 4 or I think now 5,000 people have amassed down there. And Trump naturally is concerned because he's like, immigration. What's happened is that Trump has threatened now to invalidate the trade deal that's being struck with Mexico. I believe Congress has not itself ratified it yet. So he could withdraw support from it, say, no, I'm not, after all, I won't sign it. This was the USMCA that's replacing NAFTA. I don't personally think that Trump would do that. I think that it's a hollow threat, but it's one that'll probably work. The idea is to get Mexico to be like, oh, fuck it, basically. And they have, I believe, sent several plane loads of men to the border already to try to, I guess, disperse this crowd. But what happens in Mexico? Their new president there is more populistic. He's left-wing, but he's a left-wing populist of sorts. What's happened, actually, is that we've got a situation where Mexico now is getting more serious about defending its own border, because what do you know about all of the Central Americans that would come here illegally? They have to go through Mexico. A little bit of a problem, actually, for the Mexicans as well. Now, the other threat that Trump's made is to shut down the U.S. border. If you know anything about sort of the regions near the border and people further by plane, but physically speaking, as far as walking or driving, within a few towns of the border, a lot of people commute to Mexico to get certain goods cheaper and then come back through. People go to meet with like immigration lawyers. There's a lot of trade and travel back and forth in a topical sense. Well-guarded border, but there are, I can't remember exactly how many legal crossings there are. I think there are several just in southern Texas. I remember seeing one myself as like this massive ass like highway funnels over the border, and there's like guard posts and wall and weird shit. It's actually kind of surreal to think that beyond that you're looking at a different country. It's actually really weird. But Trump has made these threats. I don't think they'll have to be carried out though, because the nation of Mexico has gotten more serious about this issue anyway. It appears that there's a decent relation between Trump and the Mexican president, so hopefully it gets taken care of. But here's the thing. It's very funny, because 20 or 30 years ago, if you had said, well, a group of some thousands of people, they're amassing in a foreign nation, they're proclaiming that they intend to storm across the border, enter the country illegally, they're being very upfront about this fact. 20 years ago, the Democrats would never have had a problem with a Republican administration saying, well, that's unacceptable. We're going to stop that from happening. They wouldn't have had a problem with it. In fact, they would have been shamed into openly supporting it. They would have said, yeah, well, our country, our border, our rules, do it the normal way. Sneak in under cover of night. Don't proclaim that you're going to legally enter, basically. But now you have at least a sizable minority within liberal movements that proclaims, hey, borders are evil altogether. ICE should be abolished. Now, that term isn't used literally by all of them. Sometimes it's just sort of a rallying cry. They want border control. They want to abolish ICE, the agency, and go back to the way it used to be before ICE was established under, I believe, FEMA. But then others take it very literally, and they're like, no, we shouldn't have a border. Fuck borders. We want a borderless world. Somehow this will work. Somehow elections will continue to work. Somehow jobs will continue to work. Everything will magically be okay if only we erase the national borders. No, they wouldn't, but yeah, Trump is making these threats. Ultimately, though, the situation will probably solve itself. Ultimately, the nation of Mexico probably doesn't want thousands of people marching through like a parade through all of fucking Mexico, because that sort of thing has happened before, and Mexico tried to out of sight, out of mind it by using trains, basically. Get aboard the train, it'll take you to the U.S. border. Basically, don't do anything while you're here in Mexico. But then there are also millions of people that are illegally in Mexico, because you got to understand, Mexico, while it's not a developed country completely, there are a few urban centers, like Monterrey is relatively developed, a few others. But by and large, it's still better off than Honduras. It's better off than Guatemala. It's better off than Venezuela, certainly. So there are Venezuelan refugees. When you're going to Colombia so that you can get a full meal, you know that there's a problem. It's basically Venezuela's issue. That actually happens. So Trump is making these threats. But I don't ultimately expect him to carry them out. Ultimately, I expect he'll strike some sort of deal. The USMCA will probably still go through. There probably won't ultimately be a problem. That's about all. Peace out.